stay up, 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 yeah, stay up.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to try and drop the trans and fix all the seals. I know in the last episode we were doing, what were we doing? The window, we were doing the window. I got another part, it came in the other regulator, and again, it was the wrong part. So trying to figure out how to find one. I cannot find a part for my life. I found one for the driver's side, but not the passenger side. So we're still working on that, and that'll probably be the next video if I can find it. But today we're gonna drop the trans. I've never done this. I'm a little nervous, but we'll get it done. We have the entire weekend to get it done. And then we can hopefully replace the rear main seal, I believe, is what's leaking. Hopefully. I couldn't find trans fluid, so at least the proper trans fluid. So I'm gonna have to get some tomorrow if I can find some, but I'm gonna have to drain this trans fluid. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but it's gonna be a challenge. Hopefully I can get it done before Monday, because this car needs to be out of here by Monday, because this is not my shop. Yeah, enjoy. I guess first we'll just start taking shit off.
Stay up, 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 stay up.
All right, car's jacked up. Now we're gonna drain the oil, I guess. Okay. Okay, so we under the car, and I noticed a couple things. Number one, engine mounts are in the front there, and there's no rear engine mounts. So does that mean that I can't pull off the trans? Because if I pull off the trans is supported back there, and I think the trans is like acting as like a structural piece for the motor, because I don't think I can pull the trans off and this motor just be fine sitting only on those mounts. So I guess an idea that I have would be to support it from here while I take this off. Would that damage the oil pan? I don't know. But here's the leak. It's right here. I honestly think that it's a rear main seal that's leaking. That's what it looks like, and everything got super dirty. Also, that little boot right there is bad. Got to replace that.
Take it easy, it's just a drawing.
Okay, next part. So I guess we got the exhaust off. I think there should be enough room to slide the trans past the exhaust, past the headers. Now we're working on the drive shaft. There is a sway bar that is blocking those bolts. And also these bolts are like so close to the edge that you have to use a wrench. You can't use a ratchet. I don't think there's gonna be enough room to, there's not. So a wrench for those, that's gonna be a pain, but first we gotta get this sway bar off so it connects up there and it connects over there. And maybe we can just connect those and kind of swing it down. We might have enough room, but we might have to take the whole thing off, which is okay. And then it's pretty cool seeing under here. I've never dropped a trans before, and like, there's a shifter. It just like goes through the tunnel, and I sit like right here. That's crazy. Also, some of this stuff is leaking down. It looks like the grease from this joint. That one doesn't look bad over there, but yeah, it just looks like it's kind of dripping down. There's oil here. It looks like maybe there's some oil leaking from the trans as well. Who knows? But we're getting there. We're gonna take it off. So I did decide what we're gonna do is just support the back of the engine with a jack, with like a 2x4. Oh, I'm gonna need another jack because I need a jack to drop this. We'll figure it out. So support the rear of the engine back there with something. That way when we take this off, the engine isn't gonna like sag. I don't think those engine mounts are supposed to only carry the engine. I think this mount also supports, you know, the engine as well. So we got to do that before we take this off. But drive shaft, and then, you know, disconnect all the cables. What is this line right here? Oh, I bet you that's speed or RPM. And that's what's leaking right there, actually. So I bet you there's a little seal in there we could replace. I bet you that's for the speedometer. It wouldn't surprise me. What else would that be? It's got to be the speedometer or the RPM gauge. Probably speedometer. Yeah, a speedometer. But we're getting there. Also, another thing I wanted to comment on. Look at the state of this underbelly. There's no rust. This is a 48-year-old car. It's beautiful. There's little surface rust on the suspension components, but those are all replaceable. Look at this chassis. It's absolutely beautiful. God damn, I lucked out on this thing. Honestly, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. It's just kind of a pain because you're under the car laying down and you're like neck's starting to shake. If it was on a lift, it would honestly be so easy. But not too bad. So we got it out. The drive shaft, that is. It looks healthy. I don't know anything about drive shafts. Once I pulled this out, it started leaking oil. I don't know if you saw, but it started leaking oil. So maybe, I don't think it's supposed to do that. Maybe there's like a seal back there that's bad. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But now we are ready to drop the trans, I think. Yeah. So I need to get a jack, support the back of the engine with like a 2x4, and then get another jack, support the trans, and then take the shifter boot off and everything, take the shifter off, and then I think it just comes down. I don't know. We're making progress though. All right. I'm allergic to something because I'm like puffing up. Anyway, yeah, we're all good to start dropping shit, but I need another jack, so we can use the jack that's here to support the trans, but we need another jack to support the back of the engine. So I'm gonna pick one up tonight, but it's my buddy's birthday tomorrow / tonight. I think it's actually Sunday, but we're gonna celebrate a little bit. So I'm gonna go back home, and we'll continue this tomorrow. So see you in 1 second. We back. We got an extra jack, so we can support the back of the engine, and then we can start disconnecting stuff from the trans. I know that we need to take off the speedometer and the wiring for the brake lights, or not brake lights, reverse lights, because that's wired to the trans as well. And then we might have to take the starter off too, I think. But other than that, I think we're good to go. So we're gonna get the jack set up and just start taking stuff apart. Also, I have a lightweight flywheel that I've been thinking about putting on, but my thought process behind it is you can't shift the transmission very fast just because it's old. And so you have to do it smoothly and slowly. And because the RPMs drop slow, it's really easy to get perfect shifts. Downshifts are a little bit harder, but I have a concern that if I put the lightweight flywheel on, then the RPMs are gonna drop too fast and you're not gonna be able to shift fast enough to get a smooth enough shift, if that makes sense. So I kind of want to try it, but I think honestly I'm going to leave it out just because I really like how the car drives already. Maybe another time I'll throw it in. I just don't want to throw it in and hate it and then have to do this shit all over again because it's, you know, time consuming. It's taking up my whole weekend. But anyway, let's get to it. All right, we got it off. What ended up being the problem was there's a little plate that goes in between the trans and the engine, and it was binding on the alignment washers, I guess you call them. And it was still bolted to this. So once we unbolted that, it slid right off. we attached a strap to the back of the trans and then to the frame and used a strap to kind of pull it back. But looking at this, there's not like a ton of debris. So I'm thinking that the seals for the trans are fine, and it's actually the rear main that's leaking and coming down through this crack. So we're gonna take the clutch off and the flywheel off and then replace the rear main. All right, so it looks like the rear main is brand new. And if the trans is good and that's good, it means that the oil pan seal is leaking and we dropped the trans for no reason. And the reason it was like kind of getting on those faces in there is because that surface isn't sealed. It's literally just a plate in between them. So once things get hot and move around, like the oil's gonna creep in there, creep into the trans. But yeah, it's just a oil pan leak, which in itself is gonna be kind of a pain to get those bolts back there. But we don't have a seal, so we're gonna put everything back together and kill ourselves. Okay, so halfway through the project, my tripod broke from my phone and I needed two hands for pretty much everything, so I stopped recording. But this pretty much sums up the video. If you're trying to do this at home on your Datsun and you need a little more guidance or need any help, I'm gonna explain to you exactly what we did. But that's pretty much it for this video, so if you wanna sign off now, peace. But if you're sticking around, basically what we did, there's 4 bolts on the transmission, 1, 2, 3, 4, one in each corner. And there's 2 bolts on the bottom that hold the, I guess, like spacer plate. It looks like a 11 or 12 gauge plate to the bell housing. So those 2 bolts, I thought I could pull the transmission off without taking those off, but the alignment dowels were binded on the plate, and so we actually ended up having to take those off. We're having a really hard time getting it pulled apart, but once we figured out where it was binding, we just unbolted those and it slid right out. Like I said, we just hooked a strap onto the end of the trans, connected the other side to the frame, tightened it down, and just kind of shimmied it, and it came right off. So then we realized that the oil pan gasket was the one that was leaking, so we replaced that. It was like a $20 part, and a lot of the bolts were literally like hand tight. There was no torque on them at all. So tighten it all down, doesn't leak anymore, leak is fixed. Getting the transmission on was really difficult. It took us probably like 2 hours. My buddy Kaylin came and helped me. So the best way that I found to do it is, first of all, you have to jack up the engine. The engine was like pretty much sagging even with the jack below it. So if I were to take off that trans without putting that jack under the oil pan, it would have sagged way more, might have bent the motor mount, so I would not recommend doing that if you were doing this at home. So jack up the engine and then you just raise up the trans until you can kind of see it aligned with the clutch. I mean the what is it called? The input shaft of the transmission. You can kind of line it up before you stick it in, see it centered with the clutch, and then stick it in. And then the hard part is knowing whether or not the splines are lined up. So what we ended up doing was, once we got it in, we thought the splines were in, or at least like somewhat meshed up. We connected the drive shaft back to the back of the trans, put it in gear, and then I grabbed like a crowbar, stuck it in between the U-joint, and twisted the drive shaft with enough force that it twisted the flywheel. So because the flywheel was moving, we knew that the input shaft was splined up correctly. It was meshing with the back of the engine. So that's how we knew that the splines were aligned. And then we were like, okay, why isn't it going in? Probably because it's not aligned like this. So we spent like hours. It was so long. We could not get it. It would not go in. And then as we were kind of like messing with it near the end, I saw like we'd raise up the jack and it wouldn't go in. We'd lower the jack, it wouldn't go in. And I kind of saw like it was just like this pivot point was like not working right. We were trying to like kind of kick it from the back, and I just saw like it wasn't aligned. I don't know why I didn't think about this. It was stupid. We were getting frustrated. It was like 2.5 hours in. And I'm like, hold on, Kaylin, keep on kicking it. And I go under the car and I just press up the front of the bell housing as he kicks it, and it just like just slides all the way on. So it was like we both started laughing, like what the hell, that was kind of pointless for spending 2 hours on it when that was such an easy solution. But we got that back on and connected the starter. We lubed up everything. We put a little anti-seize on the input shaft. I don't really know what kind of grease you should use on there. I feel like any grease is fine because it's not like a sliding part. It just needs something where it's not metal on metal. So I think anti-seize would probably be fine. We got the trans fluid from Amazon. It's actually not trans fluid, it's gear fluid. It is MT90. The brand name is Redline MT90. It's like a 75W90 or some shit like that. I'll put it in the description below if you want it. So we put that in and then filled her up with oil, did all the goodies, put the starter back on, I think I said that. And then we couldn't get some of like the reverse lights and other connections back on. So we left those off and I still got to put them back on. But anyway, that was it. It was a pain in the ass, but it was actually a lot of fun seeing how like simple that car is put together. I learned a lot, and next we need to put the window together. I said in the beginning of the video that we got the wrong parts. Well, I finally got the right part. Some dude in Georgia was like tearing down his 280Z, so I paid him an absurd amount of money for this window regulator. He sent it out to me. It is the right part, so we can get that in the car, hopefully have a window. Once the window's in, we can do a carb tune, we can do the dash cam, we can do the mirrors, and I think I'm gonna get a mirror delete on the side. Like Z Depot sells some kind of like black powder coated plate that basically deletes the windows on the doors and it still looks okay. And then we're gonna go with the JDM fender mounts. I think I decided it just looks so good, I have to. And then after that, we can do some like wrapping. We need to fix the tail or the blinkers. We need to fix the reverse lights, they weren't even working. Yeah, we have a little bit of stuff to do, but it's exciting. So pretty much like it's somewhat reliable now. It's not leaking oil all over the place. I can drive it, I can go get it registered, shit like that. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, if you're trying to do this at home, feel free to leave a comment. I'm on YouTube all the time, so I'll respond and I'll help with anything that you need. And thanks for watching. Peace.
Stay up, 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 stay, Viagra, stay up, stay up.